Da 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 da. Let me put on my podcast voice on. By the way, everyone should listen to their podcast. Comes out once a month. Their Fun Times. Read it. www.theirfuntimes.com. Booyah. There. Promoted my stuff. Now, welcome to the developer chat for Wednesday, March 11th, 2009. And welcome to our special guests, the Chaz and Helper Yoko, who are going to be here to field any questions. The way that this usually works, I usually pass the mic over to these guys who have announcements or anything that they want to say, and then we start taking questions. The way the questions are fielded are, let me put myself on green. You send me an IM, which is essentially you putting your hand up, saying, hey, I want to ask a question. You don't have to type in your question into the IM box. You can just say, I have a question, and then I will call on you in the zone box, and then you can ask your question, and we'll answer your question as best as we can with the information that we have at the time. So, to begin, do either of you have anything you want to start the meeting with, or do you want to just get into questions?
We can go right into questions. I don't have any big announcements right now. A lot of the projects are that are going on right now are internal, or a lot of the stuff related to the funnel.
Funnel.
I'm fine with questions as well, Vash.
Sweet. So let's get the questions started. Just shoot me an IM, or if you're fast enough before I get any IMs, just go ahead and ask a question in the zone box. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Go for it, CC Main. First question from CC Made. There seems to be an increase in texture thefts lately. What can be done to see immediate resolution to this problem? And what can we as developers do to be vigilant and report it?
That's a really good question, Sissy Maid, and I will try to do my best at answering your question. There has been, I believe, a forum thread that's been addressing this, and there has been a higher number of texture theft. So obviously, if you are seeing texture theft and you know you are the developer who created that texture, there is a website, a URL, and I will pass it on as soon as I'm finished talking, but that you can go to and report the texture through Help Central, and we address those as soon as possible. Depending upon the complaint, it can take up to 7 days, depending upon how thorough we're reviewing it, how many people we have to get involved and whatnot, but in certain cases, certain judgments can be made fairly quickly and we can address it right away. So there is a process that we do require for when someone is complaining or has a texture theft. So when you have a complaint and you're the developer, you would want to submit your avatar name, the catalog image, so obviously quite a few people know exactly where the image is located, and the avatar name of the accused developer, the catalog image name of the item in question, so there would be no confusion, and for the reason, exactly what the complaint is, and then contact history, so we can look up all the records and determine whether this has been their first offense or whether they actually have been educated previously and whether we actually need to ban them from the service. So we take texture theft very seriously, and so we address those right away. And I can say I don't know if there's any correlation in regards to VMTV.com closing. We have had a higher number of developers, new developers to the service, and so there is a little bit of learning, but I can't see any correlation as to whether these members that are doing the texture theft are from VMTV.com, so I don't want to make any correlation that that is a case, but you know, obviously we are wholeheartedly welcoming new developers each day, so then there is a learning curve to that to a certain degree, and we always are, our first attempt is education.
That is actually a really good idea. Maybe we should write up a draft on what to do if you feel your texture has been stolen. We can make a post about it in the developer section and make it sticky so that people can know.
One other thing that I am working on, and it's actually a work in progress, but we are redoing the developer site to a certain degree to make sure that all of our language and all of our information is right up front when you are accessing the developer site. One thing that we have noticed is that there might be some disconnect of some information that might be in some of our help information centers, such as Help Central, versus what's on the developer site. So that's one of my projects right now, is to make sure that it's all synced up, and so hopefully that's the project I'm working on right now, is to make sure that everything is on the developer site as well as in Help Central.
All right, I've got a list of people here who have questions. So we'll start with Felix, followed by, is it Felix? Felix. Followed by Nima, followed by Unicrystal, followed by Gia. Go ahead, Felix. You can type, you can voice, but in the box, yes, please. The question from Felix is, what is McKenna doing to help developers who are being targeted by these scum and slandered? Yoko, did you get that question?
Sorry, I didn't.
All right. The question was what we're doing, what McKenna's doing, to help developers who are being targeted by these griefers and they're being slandered.
So I'm not sure. I took a look around earlier to see if I saw Frill, and I didn't, and I wanted to apologize to her wholeheartedly for all that she's experienced recently. No one needs to experience the harassment she's been going through, so I definitely wanted to speak with her personally, but definitely in these particular situations we have something in the works that hopefully, as you are well aware of in the forum thread, it was mentioned that these griefers were coming in through the 2D and accepting being auto-accepted into a club and harassing in that manner. We are looking at trying to close that loophole. It's not out just yet, but that's something that we are working on. And so when someone is banned from World, they'll be banned from the 3D as well as the 2D site. But as all griefers, they are very persistent, and we do our very best to try to do what we can to keep them out. But there are certain people that have a certain knowledge that can bypass certain things, and we do our very best. And it's definitely a work in progress, us trying to.
Next question is from Nima.
Sorry, turned my microphone off there for a second. My question was, now that the 80 by 80 deck specs have been out for a while, is the 80 by 80 specs going to be revisited at all so we can see larger 80 by 80, like 80 by 80 by 20 or 80 by 80 by 40 objects?
Well, the big thing with those was, addressing the wanting to do things like putting floors down and decks like that. There's still the whole element of having a lot of collisions on a large object, so that's still going to be true. So the larger the object is with a lot of collisions, the more lag it basically, processing it requires to have that item. So in a lot of cases, it's actually better to have a few smaller items than one bigger items, because that large item with a lot of collisions has to be processed when you're near it. So with that said, I guess the other issue with using really large objects is right now we don't have any way of preventing somebody to use those objects in, say, a casual PAS or something that's really small. And although we allow people to do things like use, kind of go over outside of the boundaries of a PAS, we kind of unofficially allow that because we realize that there's some legitimate uses for it. We're really not endorsing putting an 80 by 80 by 80 in a 10 by 10 PAS. So until we have kind of a solution for that, and along with the concerns about the collisions, we'll probably can stick with the specs that we currently have.
Next question is from Unicrystal, followed by Gia.
My question is, as an instructor on teaching the new designers the basics on the designing and everything else, what can I do more than give examples with the developer's website, with the texture stuff and all that, to all the new upcoming developers?
I'd like to take that, Vash, if you don't mind. That's a really good question, Unicrystal, and thank you for asking that. Something that I've been working on, and I've pretty much drafted, and I'm almost done with it, is basically a tutorial that we would like. It's a request for proposal from the members, the developers, and so look for it fairly soon, but we hope to ask from the membership to submit a tutorial, and so obviously for a contract base we would pay you for your work and your time, but definitely the first tutorial that we're asking for is a new developer tutorial. So hopefully that'll be a resource that we can send new developers and get a lot more new developers in one.
Do you have an idea of how long of a tutorial you would want to see, segment-wise?
It is looking fairly significant. We're it would be a pretty much a beginning to end tutorial. I have an outline, and that should be going out shortly. And once we have the request for proposal sent out, there's a couple avenues we'll be proposing it or letting all the members know. I'll be putting it in the developer forum, and community will also be posting it. And likewise, we're sending it to the university of there, so the UOT.
So there'll be a chance for multiple people to bid or contract to do segments of these?
Absolutely. And we're hoping to find one particular contractor so that it would have a smooth flow, but there's different varying options. We're looking like a read-only copy. If somebody is interested in doing a video, we're wanting to just hear and see what type of proposals are being sent to us, and then we'll be picking one person or a group of people to be creating the full tutorial for the new member. Kind of like a getting started guide.
Can I have
And are we talking real currency or T-Bucks?
That is still being determined, but definitely they'll be hired on as a contractor, so I will keep you posted.
Can I ask a question in regards to this? With the tutorial and everything else, as you were saying, Yoko, is there going to be a way that we can, like I have a website for the students and everything that I always redirect them. Is there a way to embed these tutorials onto an external website?
That's a really good point. Not something that I've considered, but definitely that would be very helpful. If you want to send me their mail directly, or send something into Help Central and it'll get sent to me, I will be sure to keep that in mind when we're doing the proposal. Right now, I have something in mind. I don't know when this is going out to the membership just yet, but I just wanted to let you know that this was something that we were considering.
Okay, I just have one last question. In these tutorials, it was mentioned in with the UOT. I'm no longer with the UOT. I'm the only one doing the basic designing. I continued, but I have resigned from the UOT.
That shouldn't be a problem. I believe I only mentioned the UOT as there was someone was saying how do we get the word out to the developers, and so we're posting it in developer forum. It's posted for everyone, but I do know that from the last developer chat, some people from the UOT had contacted us and were very much interested in the tutorial, but we're opening it up for everyone to propose, to submit a proposal. But at this point, I don't want to get too involved in it just yet because it's still being a work in progress, but it's something that is definitely a project. I'm not sure when it'll be released just yet, but it is we're still working on.
Okay, I appreciate that, Yoko. Thank you.
Our next question comes from Gia.
Hey, my question is about the texture theft again. I understand you take it seriously. What I don't understand is the person who stole from everybody last week. He stole twice before. Why wasn't he banned from game the first 2 times? And is there any chance there could be a zero tolerance policy on texture theft?
So, was that Gia who was speaking?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. There are certain circumstances we take a zero tolerance, and that is exactly one of the cases. Some members are a little bit more savvy and they can get around some of our banning policy, some of our banning, and we take quick and swift action when that's recognized. And in that particular case, there were multiple avatars involved, and not to mention they had hundreds of different avatars. So it definitely took a while to get through them. But if you happen to come across a member who has been previously banned and they're back in world, then we will confirm and then we will also ban the additional, because when they're banned from the service, they're banned from the service.
He wasn't banned the first two times he stole. He did texture theft. He was just banned from the developer program. Why wasn't he banned from World the first 2 times?
So I don't know the full details. I know that so our texture theft policy is the first offense, they're educated. If there's multiple instances, even a second, they are banned from World. So I'll have to take a look at that specifically to find out why they were allowed back in after the second, because that shouldn't have been the case. They should have been banned from the right after the on the second offense. Excuse me.
The next question is from Femi.
Yeah, is there an estimated date for the fitted men's in StyleMaker?
That is still on the list. There is an estimated date for that. Yeah, the fitted men's top and bottom. There might be actually a couple more things that I have beyond that. Still on the list of clothing items.
I also wanted to know, is there going to be any progress on the, for lack of a better word, a burqa? I don't, God. Sheets knows what the word is. I don't know what the word is. Longer women's stuff?
That's the word. It's burqa.
Yeah, like for the Muslims in game?
There isn't a plan for that right now, just because of the way, I mean, the skirt that we have, that the long skirt is about all we can do with the current, technology of the avatars, and there's not currently any plan to change that at this point.
It couldn't work like, say, the boots to be longer, like, even slightly flawed, it would still be an improvement. If it were attached to a shirt, then they could wear pants underneath to hide the flaw.
That's...
Well, there's just there's just no real way to. I mean, the skirts that we have are about as long as you can do, and even that, there's a lot of complaints from the developers that the skirts, have kind of ugly stretching in the front and the back. The bottoms of the legs would be pretty bad with the the bone system the way it is.
I think that it's funny that you mentioned the it would be okay with flaws. I think that the last time that we actually took that advice, there were a lot of complaints about certain items not being as perfect as people would have preferred, even though people had said it would be okay if we released it with the flaws. So now we are very careful and make sure that unless we can do it right, we try not to to release it. Am I right on that one, Chaz?
Yeah, I think if you go back and read about the props and how people wanted those to be perfect and not require much effort, I guess that would be an example.
I had to get a special skirt prop made because my avatar is a heavier avatar, so I poke out of clothes nonstop. I poke out of the boots, I poke out of pants. I'm a chunky Avi, so I understand that there's flaws, but I'm also saying that I've actually gotten emails from Muslims who are trying to get even a prop skirt made in that shape, and that won't work. Something that's a tube around the legs, unless you never move. So I was just wondering if there would be any attempt on that, considering there are Muslims in game who have religious beliefs that aren't being met with the current structure of the game.
We'll be sure.
Yeah, I mean it's not really that we're trying to exclude any group. It's just, I mean, if you look at the seating poses of the females, or I know that there are also men's skirts that we could say the same thing about. The seating poses just don't lend themselves to the skirt. You would not really. You would end up with a lot of twisting and a lot of things poking out, the shoes poking out, and the long skirt, I mean, there was, quite a bit of complaining, I know, when we released those about the stretching in the front and everything, and any longer than that, with the bone system that we have, just really wouldn't go over well.
Is it at least on some sort of list where it's being...
Yeah, that's actually what I was going to say. It's definitely on the suggestion board. Those things have been asked for in the past, and we do recognize that it's something that people would really like, and we know that it's there.
Okay, going off topic here. How about you give us a city or something? I mean, I know it'd be a big project, and CC Metro is great, but it's like one block, and I'd like to go somewhere where I can be in the city, a city that's populated, not a player-run neighborhood that looks like a city that's got no one ever in it.
So your particular suggestion doesn't really fall into the developer chat category, unfortunately. Though we do recognize the feedback that you're giving us. It's really a really good suggestion. Unfortunately, it's really not the topic here. We're talking about developer items. It's the developer chat here.
Sorry, I come from other games. To me, developer is someone who creates stuff like for the game, like people that made the game.
Yeah, I mean, you actually find a lot of neighborhoods where people have done city themes or different themes, and we try to be pretty open-ended on what types of items that you can create. For us to create a whole city, we'd really need somebody to sponsor that activity. That would be kind of expensive for us to do. CC Metro is there because Coke paid for it. So, Coke gave us money to build that area, and that's something that they're sponsoring to promote their brand. If somebody came along, they wanted even bigger city, that would be great. But for us to just take on something like that, especially when the alternative is to give you guys the tools that you can. What does it cost? I could not even imagine what a cost like that. I mean, it depends on what you're talking about for size. 100,000, something like that. I have no idea what it would take to to get art houses to build all those models, to do all the QA of it, to secure servers for the load for it, to assemble those, to do terrain work. Take any amount of an individual item, and take what that costs, and then try to do an entire city. Somebody developing lampposts, mailboxes, to make something look like a nice city. That's a lot of money. I'm probably being on the lighter side when I threw that number on. So unless there's an actual sponsor that would promote something like that, that's a pretty big endeavor.
Not a problem. Thanks for coming, though. I've got a long list of people here. I've got Phalex, Suede, Virtual Vicky, Orange Haired Boy, and Paint Horse in the lineup. So we'll start with Phalex. Wondering if long coats and capes can be added to the men's and women's wireframes.
We did have a a longer coat that was developed way back when, and it did suffer kind of the same problems as the skirts do. Just based on all the feedback we've gotten on some of the scoots that didn't meet up, I kind of put aside the longer coat. I think it's actually only for one gender, but it really didn't work very well.
But as always, coats and long skirts and those other things are on the suggestion board for further ventures. Suede.
Hello, can you hear me? It's sewed, by the way.
Sewed?
Yes, sewed. My question is back to the texture theft. I recently realized, it's right in the information, that when an item has been convicted of texture theft, for lack of a better word, and they're retired, the auction is retired, but all the items are still in-world. And I would really like to see a policy change on that. I don't believe that any item that's stolen should be allowed to be in-world. And there is a precedent for removing items that have been stolen. So can you guys comment on that?
You bring up a really good... Sorry about that. My mic fell out of place. You bring up a really good point. It's definitely something that we can consider. It's not the policy we just remove the items from auctions. There have been circumstances we do remove all items. It's a much bigger undertaking, and we do it under extreme circumstances. But it also has a much greater effect on the membership and when something is removed. But it, like all policies, it can be reviewed and changed, possibly, or not changed, but at least to be taken a look at once again. So that's something that I will look at. I can't make any promises, but I will look into that.
Thank you, Sode. Virtual Vicky.
Yeah, hello. Oh, hey, actually, I was just kind of curious. The last two There games, which basically means, 6-8 months or something ago, you guys had these really cool skin-fitting, tight, fitted at the wrists and ankles men's outfits. I just wonder about the possibility of getting some skin-tight men outfits. It's pretty hard to make a superhero outfit in there when everything is really uber baggy.
You're talking about the Super Vash and Super their Runter outfits.
Yeah, and whatever Chaz was wearing. Oh, I guess Chaz was wearing his normal outfit. Yeah. Yeah, just wondering how that, maybe.
Yeah, so I do have those scoots. I mean, I haven't checked what the mapping looks like, but it's a fitted men's and a fitted men's top and a fitted men's bottom. That's doing exactly what you're saying. That's basically mapped. The entire thing is mapped, so you can do whatever you want with it, as far as transtone or whatever. And it's just a matter of getting the time to throw that in.
It'd be real cool because there's a themed event, Geek Week, which is comic book based and science fiction based, is coming up in, it'd be really cool if we could have those in time for that.
Okay. Let me see what I can do about getting that for May. I'm trying to get, if I can give this away, those female hairstyles that we've been promising forever out. Like I said, right now the the funnel has been kind of a big priority. Since we don't have VMTV, we're trying to make sure that we can sustain a lot of members in here and keep the world up and coming. And keep being able to add new things. But in the meantime, I've been trying to sneak that new hair in, and also some of the stuff like the helping out with the card game work. There's a lot of other stuff going on behind, but I I can see what I can do to get those ready for May for the Superhero Week.
Thank you very much.
It's true. I mean, if I don't ever say it enough, the Chaz, we totally appreciate everything you do. It's awesome. Next question is from OHB.
Thank you, guys. I know this is probably asking for the world, but as a programmer, I've been looking forward to the day where I might be able to have an object that I can script, like a light. I can, add a feature to where I can go and turn it on or off, or have a window that I can go over and open and close at will. Because that's, really, my forte would be, adding interactivity to those objects. I was wondering if that was, on the board to, create that kind of interactivity that can be customized by the developer on items, and if it was in the works, where are we at with that?
So a lot of that scripting technology we have, internally now. So we're actually using that. So we have some items that we've already released. The mannequins. We have the non-scripted lights, the lights that basically have the static settings. The new card game technology, or new card games, are using that technology, that scripting technology. So we're getting away from the current card games, which you can't trade or anything like that. And we have, like the Welcome Walkways using that technology for a lot of the scripted tutorials. So we're building that internally, and as we go, we are trying to find ways to release that to the developers. The mannequin is an example of, one of the first interactive items that you can, basically change as you go. And the way we'd probably approach the lights is being able to change the parameters and things like that. Maybe have flashing lights or whatever, and bringing more of those items. When we would actually release like a scripting kit, I don't know about that. There's some obvious dangers that other worlds have found just releasing pure scripting. But one of the goals is to first work internally and then work with, say, maybe in an advanced developer program or something like that, where we could work with some trusted parties to bring more items into the world. That's kind of what the plan is with interactivity.
Well, put me on the list, and I look forward to it.
Elite developers. Next question is from Paid Horse, then followed by Gia, then followed by BF Design.
Okay, I'll go ahead and first of all, it's multi-questions. The tutorials you were talking about, are those going to cover both 3D and Painter? And will that perhaps become something for cross-use, such as teaching to build and things like that, something that maybe they'd use at UOT or one of the universities that teaches in there? And then on the designs that don't get pulled, for texture or whatever, and they're left in game, isn't there a way to maybe perhaps attach a notice to it that that is not one of the designer's buggies? I mean, would that not be simpler than trying to pull them? Yet it would help the designer, because I understand the designers distress at this because they lose money because we all know that buggies and things like that, they go through many hands. So there's a bit of economy that goes on with that. And then the other question, okay, now you come out twice now with hair for the girls, Chaz. I mean, come on, my hair's still not long enough on that. Also, I'm still having problems with my developer passes. Can we get an update on that? And I want one of those racing boats that's on the walkway. When can I have one of those?
Well, I'll start with the second one. So those hairstyles were just made, to kind of be, they were addressing the issue that people were asking for some different styles, some longer hairstyles for, basically compete with, or, be competitive with what was in the, what was in VMTV. So we don't own any of the VMTV assets. They've continued their world into the 2.5D space, and all the assets that were paid for, they basically own. So we've made some female hairstyles based on requests that we've gotten. We also do have some additional facial hairstyles that were made for some partner things, and we'd like to get those in as well as time permits. And as time goes on, we hope to continue to add some more. I think we did add, a few other male hairstyles along the way. I think there were 3 added, and I'm not sure that we actually added any female ones at that time. So we go back and forth. We like men, we like women. We just flip back and forth. Yeah, we had the dreads, the shorter ones with the, I'd see orange-haired boys wearing one of the latest hairstyles that was released. I don't think we added any female hairstyles at the same time. Trying to remember the rest of the questions now. The walkway boats, those were built for the walkway. There's no immediate plans. I know we would eventually like to do additional vehicle types, and that is on the suggestion board, and I believe it was actually on the top 40 to get other vehicle types. The ones on the walkway weren't really for that purpose. They were just kind of part of the first visit experience. So they're not really addressing the whole vehicle thing. And developer paths, I don't believe there's anything additional right now. I believe Becky or Pixel is, big thing she's waiting is for the new UI, so she can update a lot of things that, were done with the developer passes. And the new UI, of course, is coming along. So, and I'm trying to remember what the other question was.
I think you might have gotten them all.
Yeah, I think we all want one of the boats. That'd be really cool.
Paint Horse, do you mind reviewing your question on the notice?
Sure. Yeah, I know that it's very difficult to, if once an item's been recognized as a texture theft, that you can stop the auctions, but it's very difficult to pull any of the items that are already in game. But isn't it a fairly simple process to perhaps add some type of an attachment so that if that item goes into auction, it will actually state that that is not that designer's design? Okay, because I understand the designer's problem with that is that they actually lose commerce on that, because we know these vehicles go through any number of sales, and at the same time a lot of people will not purchase a vehicle that is just a little bit less than the designer, because we know how hard they work on them. So is there not some type of way to attach perhaps something to it to show that it is not an original design piece?
I see. That's a really good question. I don't have an answer for you, but I will look into that.
That was it.
To get into the not the logistics of it, but what actually happened, I think that Merritt is right. I think that adding a notice like that would actually make the item more rare. It's a really complicated issue, and I know when there have been points when I've actually talked about it, removing an item from world. It's like sometimes some of those items are, aren't seen for a while. So not only have a certain number of these items been purchased, but sometimes they've exchanged hands. So doing an all-around refund to everybody who has that item wouldn't work, because not everybody who has the item is the person who started with the item, etc., etc. Sometimes people pay more for it. It's a long, complicated process that I'm sure we can talk about some other time. But there's more questions. Next question is from Gia, followed by I can't remember the avatar name. Well, Gia, go ahead, ask your.
Okay, in October 2007, you introduced knee-high boots, and when you did that, the women's style maker pants were ruined. The back seam of them were. I reported it in MAB. I fused it. I sent you documentation, and I was told you were working on it. Well, it's 2009, so how's it going?
Nothing has happened with that. Yeah, that's what happens. We release one item and it's not perfect. So that's probably an example of what happens with when we do long thing, like we were talking about the longer skirts, when we release something and everything's not perfect. Yeah.
Though now that you've asked the question, it might start to ball up again.
Yeah, the problem was the style maker that was checked in didn't match the style maker that was released, and we had to fix the style maker pants to match the boots. Otherwise, the boots, the style maker pants weren't done the same way as other pants were. So if we made the boots work with a lot of the other pants, like shorts and things like that, they would stop working with style maker. So we kind of went back and forth and tried to get them working, but once everything was said and done, they were released, we found that the style maker, some of the fixes that had been made to the style maker pants hadn't been checked in, so we were working off of a version behind. So we either break the boots or we break the mapping, or we actually get the time, and right now that hasn't been something that we've been able to work on.
So the next question is from BF Design, followed by Johnson, followed by Sissy followed by Aztecs, followed by Phalix, followed by Applebee's.
It's sort of, I don't know, you brought up the mannequins, and I thought this would be a perfect time to bring up that nobody is specifically taking responsibility for the mannequins on the Welcome Walkway, or whose domain they happen to fall in.
Not entirely sure what you mean.
Oh, there's at least a dozen mannequins on the Welcome Walkway.
Right, but what do you mean by who's responsible for teching them, or who's responsible for actually dressing them?
Who picks what they wear? Who maintains them? Whose domain are?
That's actually our marketing team, crossed with a little bit of so it's the marketing / first visit team.
So that's not this area at all?
No, it isn't this area here. But if you have a question about that, you could most certainly ask me later. You can send me their mail, or we can talk about it in some other venue, and I'll make sure to pass whatever comments you have to those teams.
I did send an email to you as well as Emma, Josie. Anybody I could think of might know who it would go to. I got the response from Josie saying that it's somebody else. That was it.
Just send it to me.
Okay, I will. I sent it under Femi.
Yes, Merritt, that's what we say.
This coming from the guy who hasn't changed his sweater in 6 years.
Exactly. Yeah, it certainly was a style.
Next question is from Johnson. Can't hear you. You might need to type or fix your mic. Nothing.
How about this?
There you go.
Say I accidentally had my mic on mute. Okay, so I have this idea. And this is just like a real quick idea, then I'll get to my question. Okay, the welcoming people, the people that just come in as newbies, I don't think they should be able to choose their skin color. Just make them like bleach white like paper, and like everything that they get for free should be extremely ugly, because then it's like, well, now I've got to spend money on the game. Okay, that's just like motivation for them to do that, for them to buy the game. Okay.
We had uglier clothes once, and it actually didn't really motivate them. So we figured we'd be nicer, and make sure that they're not terribly embarrassed to be here, and hope that they see other cool items on the welcome walkway that they'll want to invest in.
I'm terribly embarrassed to be here.
Okay, and when am I gonna be able to like make a plane? I mean, I'm cool with the hoverboats now, but I want something with plane physics, something that goes down a runway and doesn't just jump up into the air. I mean, one of the big things that I started playing games like this for was I want to be a pilot, and I don't want to fly a boat that looks like a plane. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with it, but that's something we should add to the list.
Consider it added. That's a really great suggestion. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I will be adding that to the suggestion board. We actually have a list of vehicles that have been suggested. I actually don't think that a plane is on that list. I mean, there are boats and rocket packs and various types of road vehicles, but I don't think I've ever seen airplane. That's a good one.
I don't know about airplane. I know helicopter was talked about, and of course boats. People like boats. Yeah.
And no, I'm not being sarcastic. Next question is from Sissy Maid. Remember, if you guys have a question you want to get added to the queue, so that you don't cut in line, just send me an IM and I'll add you to the queue.
Yes, her question is, one, are there any plans to migrate away from GMAX at this point to other 3D programs, or are we going to be stuck forever with GMAX? Two, what is going on with putting Steam script in objects like pianos, etc.? Could we submit and ask it to be added? Three, can you add an S and P to the icons for them on desktop to reduce confusion from client? S for StyleMaker, P for Previewer.
I've never heard that Can't see why not. I without looking at it, I don't know where the icons actually come from. But as far as the steam or stream, like, are you talking a particle effect, or are you talking about streaming music? I kind of missed that. Where would the music? I mean, are you talking about like shoutcasts? So, but it would be based on shoutcasts, just a kind of a shoutcast object that you could drop. I think we had actually made at one point an invisible sound system. So it gave you the mute and everything, action tag. I don't know whatever happened with that. I know it was used for a while in VMTV before they had the zone-based music. I can look to see what the invisible, because then you could basically just drop an invisible sound system on whatever object, if that would work. And as far as GMAX, I mean, right now, you know, the only thing is, I mean, you can use GMAX, so you can use 3DS versions up to, I believe, 9. We have exporters started for other ones, but they're not complete, and we don't have any templates for them. So those are that's kind of a big thing. And you know, right now there's no installers, and you know, it's kind of you know, a DOS-based program that's more of like a converter. The one that we're talking about, I forget which. I believe it had a middle, you know, standard format that was kind of in the middle. It might be FBX. Which one it was that they actually ended up using. I know Trilogy had worked on that, you know, but it wasn't quite as general purpose as, you know, we had hoped. At this time, you know, that's what we have as GMAX and 3DS up to 8.
Did that answer that last question? I'm assuming so. The next question is from Aztecs, followed by Felix, followed by Applebee's, followed by Disky, followed by Unicrystal, followed by Francis7, followed by Mike Cesar, followed by OHB. That's a long list. If you guys want to get added to the list, make sure to send me an IM. I can't read the scrolling window the whole time because I've got people IMing me, and I'm also making a list down. So, and we'll probably be cutting the questions soon because it's getting pretty late. So, Aztec, take it away.
Yeah, I'll make it quick. I know we've been asking for this, the male dummy for prop for GMAX. We have the female. Any chance on getting the male one? And also, I have a second question.
If you need the male one, send me an email. If you need the male prop template, send me an email. I send you what I have. I haven't gone through it and completed it, so I haven't released it generally, but you know, a few people are using it right now. So if you need it, just send me an email and I'll send you what I have.
You just need to give you an external email address to send it to, right?
Yeah, just send it to their email.
Right, but you need our external one to send us the file, or do you send us a link?
I've just replied back with the attachment.
Great, okay. And also the second question, I know it's on the board there, I just want to keep trying to push it up. Providing sound libraries for the vehicles as an option.
That's still on the list of developer projects, and every time I say that, Merritt's gonna like make fun of our list. But if it's on the list, it's not forgotten. We can only work on so many things at a time.
I understand, but that would really be a popular item. I mean, I've got right now, just my hoverboat mod, I've got like 100 hoverboats.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would be a really great thing. Part of that is actually, done. So the part where we need to be able to pick the sounds. That was basically accomplished when we did the props. So, within Preview, you now can specify parameters that you want to go with things. So you can pick the hoverboat exhaust color, and there's a few things. So that's basically how we would do other sounds. With that said, the actual picking of the sounds and chopping them up and making sure they're the right format and getting all the scripts, all that hasn't been done yet.
All right, well, thank you.
Felix, you're back in time, or you're gone. Applebee's while we wait for Felix to return. I don't even know if Applebee's is still here. There you are. I'm not even sure if Applebee's has finished asking his question yet. I think he might be typing. You're going to release men's fitted tops and bottoms sometimes, but are you considering adding other stuff to StyleMaker for females? Other hats, flat boots, just like hush puppies. Other types of sunglasses, scarf, bandanas around the neck. I know that the Chaz's answer will probably be very similar to mine, but the amount of things that we can add to our catalog and things that we can create are, obviously endless. We will do our best to add more things, and have more things in there, like those things that you've suggested. There are lots of things that people want, and I know for a fact that sometimes we release things like women's hairstyles and the men complain that we don't release enough men's hairstyles, or the other way around, we release facial hair and women are saying, hey, what about us? But if we waited until we had a balanced amount of things to release, sometimes it would take a long time for things to be released. So instead, we just we release things as we can. So that sound about right, the Chaz?
That sounds about right. I'll bring back to our business development group, the fact that a lot of developers are asking for different items like this, and if we can, in the best case, we can get a partner to say, basically sponsor some of these items and say, we're a boot company, or we're a whatever company, and we want to create some items. The developers would like to create paint jobs for them. Basically, what we did with the Scions, and and see if we can get anything there. Because if we ever release the tools, I would never hear the end of how horrible they are to work with.
Our next questions are from Disky, Unicrystal, Francis, Mike Cesar, and OHB, and then after that I'm cutting this off. So go ahead, Disky.
Okay, my question is for the props, actually. How hard would it be to make them like you do for the Scion, so that when a person develops a prop, they can put it in World and make the paint job something that they can submit like they do the wheels for the cars, where they can change the paint job on it, so people don't have to keep submitting the same prop over again, but just different paint jobs for it?
Yeah, that's actually, I kind of wanted to do that to be in the beginning, is actually make basically a prop that you'd put on, and all of the pieces, would be basically parts on that prop. And unfortunately, the parts technology really was centered on vehicles at this point. So it wouldn't have been just an easy step to make that work with props. It's still something I'd like to do. If we had waited for it, we still wouldn't have props. So I hate to keep on pushing things out, because then Merritt reminds me of the list out there, and I'm kidding him.
So it's something that's going to come at some point.
It's like everything. I think it's a really good idea to do it that way. Because then you could mix and match. That's his job in this world. It's a payless job too. Merritt doesn't get much salary for sitting out there heckling. It's a thing that I'd like to do. I don't know where it fits with everything else, but I think it would make sense to be able to do that. In the meantime, we have a lot of cool props.
Pay Merritt more. That's funny.
Oh, and the second thing I want to ask is, how the guys have that long T-shirt? It's really nice. We would be really nice to have one with long sleeves on it, and one for a woman, because we kind of like to wear long, funky, T-shirts too.
Say that again?
The long T-shirt that's meant for men. A version of that with long sleeves would be nice, because it's less bulky than the custom T-shirt, custom, top.
Well, we have the fitted men's top, which is basically mapped throughout the whole thing. So I think what you're talking about, you could create with that. And I'm still going to try. I have written here, May superhero event.
Well, we women would also like a shirt like that.
Right. Yeah, I think what you're talking about is actually covered by this item. You could create a T-shirt with it as well.
Every month is Merritt month. Next question is from Unicrystal.
Okay, I got about 3 questions. One, is there any way of, or has it been put on the list, on dogs, having something like horses that are interactive like the dogs?
Yeah, that would be great. horses, cats, rideable horses, and then you could have, you could put saddles on them that are props. Yeah, those are all things we'd love to do. There's a lot of work to doing something like that, but as always, I would never say no. We would never do that because we got hugs and people that ask for those forever. So you never know when the right time is.
Yeah. Second question. Is there, what about, it's almost like a hoverboat with like the seating that the hoverboats have, but something that we can actually drive in the water?
Yeah, so those are the other vehicle types that we've talked about. That's been suggested a lot. Flying vehicles, water vehicles, which of course, in all those cases we would want them to be developer items. Again, that's on that endless list of things we'd like to do.
And the last and final one that I wanted to ask is, what about like hover bikes that you can actually, where it was the hover boats that are able to go down runways? What about bikes that the wheels are actually able to move, that you're actually able to ride?
We do have another version of the buggies in the work, so wheeled vehicles, where we're talking about like two-wheeled bikes or three-wheeled bikes. I don't know where that fits in with the whole thing, but we basically did work to redesign the buggies so they take less resources. That work isn't complete yet, but there's been quite a bit of progress there.
Okay, thank you, Chaz.
Our next question is from Francis.
Yes, hello. Oh, so actually my question was about props. I noticed that rain cloud prop that you'd made that had the LODs basically being the prop, so it sort of drifted along with you. I thought that was really cool. But I'm just wondering if it's possible to actually add a second node in that type of a prop structure where you have the LODs as an object as opposed to a dummy node. I tried to make one and put a handheld microphone in a hand and tried to make a fairly large prop, and I just was unable to test that and get it to work where the actual thing was in my hand. It just sort of bobbed around. It was very strange.
Yeah, you should be able to do that. Maybe what you should do is post that question in the forum so that way, we can actually go through the details. So I don't know if I can really do it here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'll answer that or get you started with that.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Jeff.
Next question is from Mike Cesar.
We've been trying to keep it to the 512 by 512. Just as you're downloading textures and you're actually loading to them. One of the things is as you see more textures, they all kind of get loaded into memory, and as you see more of this over the course of being logged in, is kind of what leads to the client running out of memory and not being able to load browsers and things like that. So to minimize this, we kind of keep the texture size down. Now we push it over time, but 1024, then 248. We keep on pushing it up, but eventually it makes that harder.
Does that answer your question, Mike? Go for it. Asking when you can make your own models of the cars. So, not painter cars, but developer cars, or...
Yeah, that would kind of be my preference to, going back and coming out with a new version of the buggy. While it'd be nice, I think, the builder vehicles would probably be more value for everybody. And that's on that list of developer requests is builder buggies.
And one of our final two questions, OHB.
Thanks again. Going back to the sound systems, I've noticed that if I want to fill an area with soft, quiet music, almost background music, it's impossible because you can either have it very soft and it's very limited range, or it's very loud in the center and it drops off considerably the farther away you get from it. So you have to position things bizarrely in order to get the desired effect, and even then it's just not really possible. I was wondering if there was a way that we could perhaps specify a radius on a music source. So I could say I want really soft music, but I want it cover the same area that loud music would cover, because the current radius is determined by only the volume. The other part of that is, the other part of the, like was suggested, we'll use two music sources. And the problem I have with that is when you move from one music source to another, it cuts out for a moment while it switches to presumably the other station. But if the station is the same, it still cuts out. So could something be changed that when you move from one to another and both are playing the same station, there's no cutout and it's just a smooth transition from one to the other?
I don't know if we can address that, in terms of the developer stuff. I think it's probably more of a general feature request, but the way I kind of can think that might be handled is, with the zone-based music, basically, having shoutcast, but have the shoutcast as part of the zone rather than an individual music box. So, within the whole entire zone, you would hear the music, and you wouldn't have to worry about putting music boxes all over your entire zone. You'd still have to have a way to mute it. I picture, in your places menu, you'd have some sort of ability to mute it. But I'll give that back to Vash to add as a a general feature request. More, I would think that would be more real estate. Adding that to the. Okay, good. Sounds like a good idea.
All right, I appreciate it. Kind of seemed to blur in between the lines of developer and non-developer, so I figured I'd mention it anyway.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you all.
And our final question for the evening is from Felix, who started the evening with the first question. Yoko, I believe that this falls under your...
Sorry, just reading. Hold on just a moment. So I was trying to scroll up and I was having trouble seeing it all. Is the question that if you are being slandered,
does McKenna Technologies take legal action?
So if we took legal action, it's not something that we can discuss, but There.com does do, I mean, McKenna does go as far as we can in regards to taking care of the issue on our end. But if you are being slandered, by all means, you know, please report that to Help Central, and we get that escalated and we look into it.
We have a privacy policy that we actually have to adhere to, even if the member is violating our terms of service. So it is indeed, and if you go and look it up, I'm sure you would be able to find it. Unfortunately, we can't go out there and say, this is what we're doing.
If someone is filing a legal action or they contacted the police and the police contact us, obviously we release that information to the authorities. Also, I should mention one of the changes that we're making to the developer site is adding on a new section on how to report copyright violations when someone is not a member or along those cases. So if someone has under penalty of perjury, someone can file a complaint. They'll send an email or fax to Agent for Notice or to the company, and then under penalty of perjury, they'll file a form. We'll have their information, and then yes, we will take down the copyrighted infringement. That is one of the changes that we are making to the site. And the website or the email address, if you have a question and wanted to have a copyright issue and you're going outside of our texture theft policy, is Agent for Notice. That's Agent, AGENT, FORNOTICE at theireinc.com, and that is directed at my group, and we handle it accordingly, and we will contact you. Exactly. Thank you, Greenie. And that is actually, we handle it, and we will send you a form to fill out and to obviously contact us, and then we will handle it right away.
There are certain things that we put in our teleport tips, Sesame, but one of the most important things that we do is we try to make teleport tips as welcoming as possible. So putting things like rules and guidelines into teleport tips actually makes the virtual world less inviting. So those things are, those rules and guidelines can be found on our website, and they are posted in various places all over the website. We just don't want to, you know, post everybody, don't break the rules or break your fingers. You know, it just doesn't seem like it's very inviting. Though we don't actually break people's fingers. Cass, the things that I pay you to do on the outside of there shouldn't be spoken of inside of there. And I believe that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Helper Yoko and the Chaz for coming in.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Vash.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll see you guys in 2 months.
Thanks, Shay.
As always, you can post in the developer section of the forums if you have any more questions, and always read Their Fun Times for news on events and upcoming things. I should probably write this stuff down so that I don't sound like I'm just thinking it off the top of my head. Oh, and big thank you to Chagall for recording, as always. Thank you, Chagall. Love you. Everyone say that you love Chagall, or you're all moderated.
We love you, Chagall.